Alright, so it's been a couple of years since I've shared my biggest hot takes. In fact, I think it was my 16th birthday that I've actually filmed my hot takes video. Today, I'm going to share to you, a couple of years later, my new biggest hot takes. There was something special going about this video. Instead of just saying my big hot takes from like 10 to 1, my top 10 hot takes, I decided I'm going to give you my biggest hot takes from each genre. So we're going to start with comedy movies, then animation, horror, comic book, action. We're going to go down the list of almost all the genres except something like romance, because I don't watch romance movies. But anyways, so we'll go ahead and get started. But before we get started, please make sure to join me down below in the comment section. What is your biggest hot takes of each genre? I want to know all that and more down below. And please make sure while you're down there to subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell so you never miss another video. We are currently at 173. If we can get to 200 by the middle of July, there'll be a special video coming up just for you guys. And with that said, let's get started. And we are going to start with my biggest comedy hot takes. And I don't have many hot takes about comedy movies because this might be a hot take in and of itself, but I'm not a big comedy movie fan. If anybody walks up to me and says, hey, you want to watch a movie? The list of genres, I would not pick romance. That'd be my first not choice. I would not choose that. I wouldn't pick a little kid movie, like something that isn't a family movie, but it's just a kid movie. I would pick, I wouldn't go for a comedy. After those, comedy's just not my style, because most of them have like most of them have the same plot. Like, I don't really laugh during movies unless it's just like great chemistry between characters. That's what makes me laugh. Great chemistry between people, not jokes written in movies. But I'm going to tell you my favorite hot take, or not my favorite hot take, but my favorite comedy movie, which could be a huge hot take because it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, and every time I talk about this movie, somebody calls me homophobic. So that is, my favorite comedy movie is Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. The first one, obviously, it's great. I love this movie. So me and my best friend, I go over to his house. Sometimes we stay the night at each other's houses. So I did that once, and he was like, hey, let's watch Ace Ventura. So I did, and I did not want to watch it, but I did, and I fell in love with it. I showed my brother it a week later once I got home, or I obviously got home, but then I showed my brother it about a week later. He loved it. Then every time I go over to his house, our go-to movie is Ace Ventura. I think it's hilarious. Jim Carrey is such a funny comedian that he is probably the best one out there. He is hilarious, and just all the iconic moments, iconic lines. Me and my friends, we quote this movie constantly because it is just so quotable and so fun. The story matches to me. It has this fun mystery area. Then we get the football stuff. I love football, so seeing the Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino, all that really adheres to me. And then also just even the twist, I think that's good. Obviously, it's not for everyone, especially in this day and age. A lot of people will find it homophobic because if you don't know, or transphobic is the word I'm looking for. If you don't know, the woman turns out to be a trans guy, and Jim Carrey freaks out, and there's this funny scene. I find it hilarious. People hate my opinion on that, but obviously, if you get offended easily, it's not going to be for you. But I don't. I found it to be just a fun time, and I love this movie. I'll watch it over and over with my friends. It's my favorite comedy movie of all time. Share your comedy hot take down below. Let's move on to horror movies. And I love horror movies. It's no joke. I love gushing about horror movies on this channel. So, what is my horror hot take? It would have to be that the Friday the 13th franchise sucks. I do not like the Friday the 13th franchise, especially that first movie. I said it. It's a very big hot take of mine because I just don't find the movie or the franchise that compelling. I tried to watch these movies several times, or at least I tried to watch the first movie several times, and each time I just kind of fell asleep during it. And every time I watch one of these movies, they're only like an hour and 20 minutes, and I almost fall asleep every time because they're the same thing. Especially with that first movie, we got the we got the whole thing, but once you really think about it, nothing really happens. There's just sequences of, ooh, there's a snake in the cabin. Ooh, we gotta follow this lady walking all the way from the kitchen to the bedroom, to the bathroom, to the kitchen, all of that. And so when you're watching it, it just makes you very tired, because I hate long-standing shots, especially when nothing's happening, and this movie has it. And then, like, the twist with the mother, it's a good twist in hindsight, but the way it's executed makes no sense. Like, these teenagers who are young and spry are getting outran by like an 80-year-old woman, or probably more, around 70. Still doesn't make any sense that you're just getting killed off by a 70-year-old woman. No sense at all. And so, just like, it took me so long to watch the movie, and even like the final time when I finally watched the whole thing, I fell asleep. I was close to falling asleep at the end of the movie. So I just find that first one really boring, and then the other ones are just the exact same. We get a group of teens, they go to a cabin in the woods. There's always the couple, the real couple. There's always the people who hook up with each other. And then there's always the guy who's just off, can't get any game, but he's like watching porn or whatever. It's what that is. So we go to this cabin in the woods, we get some kills with Jason, which in hindsight, when Jason's on screen, it can be pretty fun. I like the endings of a lot of them because you're just following these characters running away while Jason's slashing you. But then again, so then we get them at the house, a couple kills happen, people go to start doing it, you know, and they get killed in the act, and then there's this final girl or final guy or final girl and guy, and they get chased by Jason. It's the exact same thing. I've seen 4, what was the last one I saw? I can't even remember what the last one I saw was. So last Halloween, I just spent all Halloween, like that month, mostly watching these movies, and I got to like 4 in, because it was like near the end of the month. And I just couldn't get into them. I just couldn't get into them because they're the same thing. They're not that entertaining. And so watching this, very disappointing, because I'm a big fan of the Halloween franchise. I've heard it was a lot like that, and it just turned out to be the exact same thing over and over again. So I'm not a big fan of the Friday the 13th franchise. What's your horror hot take? Tell me down below in the comment section. Alright, moving on, let's go ahead and head into my action movie hot take. Now, here's how this gets weird, because you can identify a lot of things as an action movie. You can identify a comic book movie as an action movie. You can identify a sci-fi movie as an action movie. But it's really hard to just figure out which one you would call an action movie. So if you don't think one of these that I'm going to talk about is an action movie, then go ahead. I tried my best to stick closely to the action franchises. I kind of looked at like the biggest action franchises of all time. So hot take number 1, not a big fan of the Mad Max franchise. This is a recent one. I recently watched all the movies for the first time. Fury Road's pretty great. I don't love Fury Road, but I think it's a pretty great movie. Furiosa, pretty good. I like the movie. But the rest of the franchise is just not for me. It doesn't feel like it works continuity-wise, because like all of a sudden we get like Mel Gibson and he's Mad Max and he's doing all these things in like the wasteland, and so it gets better when we head to like the second film, The Road Warrior, and then like with the third film we get the whole the world building. What doesn't work is when you head to Fury Road and you cast Tom Hardy, because he looks nothing like Mel Gibson. So watching that movie, I just could not believe that this was the Max Rocksteady that we knew from the last 3 films, because they don't look anything. So, I mean, just the continuity doesn't work. I find those first 3 movies, I like the first one, I found that was pretty good. The other 2, I have some significant problems with. I just don't find them entertaining. I never grew up watching them. I found them to be really weird. Not a big fan of them at all. And so while I like Fury Road, I think it's really good. I like Furiosa. I still don't think I don't think Fury Road, I think as an action movie with the stunts, it's a top 10. I just don't find it to be like the biggest hype in the world, because like I said, I really thought the movie was great, but I also like not as big of a fan of it like a lot of you are. Speaking of that, I am reading Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, shameless plug, by Kyle Buchanan. Really good book. I really like this book. I'd highly recommend it. Sean Chandler recommended it on his channel. I purchased it, and it's really good. So anyways, if you love the movie, check it out. But anyways, that's one of them. Another one is, this is hard to say because I love the action in the John Wick franchise. I find the movies to be really entertaining. I just don't think at all that the story really holds up throughout the movies. And that's a really big hot take, because a lot of people love these movies for the story and the action. For me, I find the big problems with 3, with 4, and with 1 is the story. Number 2, I love the story. Number 2 is my favorite John Wick movie, and the story is great in that movie, hands down. The story in the other ones, I just have problems with. Like the first movie, it just is too familiar, like other movies. With the third movie, it goes to some really weird places in the middle of it to where it's been a while since I watched it. I'm trying to get specific plot points. I can't really remember right now exactly what it was, but they do some weird things in there. And then John Wick Chapter 4, in the middle, we kind of try to make another excuse for John Wick to quit being excommunicated. It's just some weird excuses, and I don't think it works whatsoever. So all those 3 movies I just mentioned, I really like the action in them. They're really entertaining. Because specifically 3 and 4, when it just focuses on the action, they're 10 out of 10 movies. I give them 4 stars at best. Or 4 stars at worst. But just like the story and the aspects, it's just kind of odd. It doesn't fully 100% work for me. So that was my action movie hot takes. Tell me down below, what is your action movie hot takes? And one more, actually, I just remembered. I don't know if this fully counts as a hot take, but I love the Fast and Furious franchise. Like, that's one of my, it's probably top 5 favorite franchises. Even after Fast and Furious 7. 8 has some problems, 9's not good, but 10 I thought was really good. I love this franchise, I love the characters, I love the action in them, I love the car stuff. I think it's a really good movie, or a really good franchise. So that it's not as big as a hot take as those others, but I do really like the Fast and Furious franchise. Tell me down below again, what is your action movie hot takes? And then let's move on to animation. I don't really have some animation hot takes. It's hard to find one. I'd say my biggest one is some animation styles I'm not a fan of. Thinking about that, the animation styles I don't like are, like Skull Island. You know, Skull Island, the show that came out last year, I hated that animation style, and any other show or movie like that animation style, I just don't like whatsoever. I don't think it looks good. I really don't. I think it definitely takes the point down out of my reviews, because I just don't find it as entertaining to watch. They're hard to watch because they're not good to look at. So that animation style like that, I probably in editing put up some images. So that's the kind of animation I don't like. Studio Ghibli kind of has an animation. I just don't like anime. It's not a big horror hot take, but it's going to offend one certain community. I don't like anime whatsoever. I don't think the animation looks good. I don't find the stories to be that compelling at all. Specifically like Studio Ghibli. I watched one movie from them. Animation was bad. I thought the story had issues, but I thought it was fun. That was Earwig and the Witch. But it never wanted to go out and watch the other ones because I'm just not interested in. I'm not interested in anime. So I know it's not really like a big hot take, because there's like 2 sides. People who like anime, people who don't. And I'm definitely on the don't side, so there's tons of people that agree with me, but I figured because I was having troubles finding some animation hot takes, I'd throw that one out there, is that I don't like anime. Tell me your animation hot takes down below. I'm sure some of you got some better ones. I do have one big hot take that always comes to mind, and it's that I don't like Toy Story 4. But I'm not going to include that because I've seen it once, and I'm rewatching it very, very soon for a Pixar tier list that's coming out in the next couple of weeks once I finally finish watching all the movies. So you all stay tuned for that, and you'll have my updated thoughts on Toy Story 4 after that. Now here's the big grand finale, my comic book movie hot takes. We got tons of these. We're going to go MCU. I don't really have much in the DCU thinking about it, but then we're going to go on some of hot takes in the comic book industry. Starting with MCU, we got a couple here. First up, I love Iron Man 3. I absolutely love Iron Man 3. It's a top 10 MCU movie in my opinion. And that's with the MCU. That's absolutely massive. Has some great movies. I love Iron Man 3. I find it, with Shane Black's direction, kind of like the spy style, I think it really works in this type of movie. With Tony Stark without the suit, he has to build his own tech. That's a great aspect of it. I don't mind the twist that the Mandarin's just an actor. I thought it was good, and I thought it was paid off really good in Shang-Chi. You gotta see, me and my friends, we went to go see Shang-Chi, and everyone was buzzing when that happened. That was one of the biggest surprises that the MCU has ever thrown at us, because me and my friends were freaking out at that part in the movie. And so, I do like the twist. I just find Iron Man 3 to be a really fun Iron Man movie that I will rewatch twice a year. Not really a hot take, but Ant-Man is kind of like that. The first one, I will always watch that a couple times a year. I find it to be a really, really, really fun movie. Another hot take is I wasn't the biggest fan of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Or Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for that matter. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it grows on me with time because every time I rewatch it, I notice something new. It's very emotional in the end. But Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I watched it once, and I found that the fact that they refused to kill off any characters made it feel like James Gunn was so attached to this world that he just refused to just kill any other characters. And it felt very unnatural. I felt like a character or two should have died. Kind of led to false marketing. It kind of felt a little disappointing. So I've only seen it once. It's something that's high up on my rewatch list. I am rewatching the entire MCU right now. Guardians of the Galaxy will probably have to be a rewatch soon. Or the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 rather. But after that first watch, just not the biggest fan of it. Like I said, I don't have many DCU hot takes. One of them is rather, that I'm not the biggest fan of Man of Steel. I like the Snyderverse. I'm gonna throw out, I do like the Snyderverse. I like Batman vs Superman. I thought it was really great on my rewatch. Zack Snyder's Justice League was great as well. Them two combined makes for a great universe that's unique. We don't see that nowadays. It's different than what we've been seeing a lot. But, Man of Steel, I just find to have so many issues, because we start off, it's slow, it's really interesting, the character arc, and then we have no middle act, and then we go straight to the third act, hour and a half of Superman and the Kryptonians punching each other around. And while it's entertaining to see Superman and the Kryptonians punching each other around in the Zack Snyder style, it's just not as story good. The story definitely suffers from that, because we go from Superman discovering who he is, in sequences, and it just felt really odd, and it's really jarring, and even after like a while of seeing Kryptonians punch each other, it gets kind of boring. So I was never a big fan of Man of Steel. So that was that. And my big Grand Slam finale of my hot takes out of all of them is, I love James Gunn. I love Zack Snyder. These people exist. And it's going to be really hard to talk about this, because if you're a Snyder cultist, if you're a James Gunn cultist, one of you is going to get offended. You're both going to get offended at this. And that's what makes it really hard to talk about. James Gunn makes very fun movies. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, even though I have problems with the last two of them, I find them to be really entertaining. They're pretty entertaining. And so, just with James Gunn's characters, he's always able to make great supporting characters. The teams have great dynamic. Even with that in the Suicide Squad, it's really fun. Slither and Super, not the biggest fan of, but they both still have positives, and some of them have their negatives, obviously. But these comic book movies I find really good. Zack Snyder, not a big fan of Man of Steel, but Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League, both 10 out of 10 movies. I find them to be really great. But then we move on to even his other movies, and they're fun. They're good. I really like Dawn of the Dead. I really, really like Army of the Dead, which is a really big hot take, but I rewatched that one recently, and I really do like that movie. Other movies I've seen, I was gonna do a ranking of him, but I just don't like talking about his movies, because when I did my Rebel Moon review, and even when I posted on Twitter, I got hate for it, and I absolutely hate talking about his movies, so I just decided to scrap that video altogether. But anyways, I do like Zack Snyder. I find that he has a distinct style, a style that gets a lot of taken used to. I used to really not like his movies, and now I do genuinely love his movies, some of them. Except like the Rebel Moon movies, I don't like them, but that's a whole story for a different day. But I like both directors. And people nowadays say that they just, it's hard to talk about both of them, because if you talk about a James Gunn movie, you're gonna have people saying, yeah, it was great. And I don't think the James Gunn cultists are as bad as Zack Snyder's cultists at all. Because there's going to be like one or two people saying, how dare you not give it a 10 out of 10? And then there's going to be like the people saying, oh, you only like this movie because you don't like Zack Snyder. Well, whatever. But when you talk about a Zack Snyder movie, if you love the movie, you get people saying that, or even if like you give it a positive score, people are going to say that you don't love the movie because you like James Gunn. That's what happened with Rebel Moon 2. I don't think it's a good movie, but I liked the action. I thought it was entertaining throughout. And so, yeah, I gave it a positive score. If you hate a Zack Snyder movie, Rebel Moon Part 1, people are going to be all over you saying, you're a James Gunn cultist, you hate Zack Snyder, off with your head, or whatever. Like, it's hard to talk about both directors, and it sucks because I'm a movie fan. I like both directors. I will be looking forward to each of their new projects. Today, we got the Superman, the suit, the full suit reveal. And I'm not the biggest fan of the suit. I think the colors are great, but just like the suit design makes it look like a cartoon. But I posted that on Twitter. I haven't got any hate yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if I click on my phone and there's somebody that's saying something about it. And so you see, I don't love everything James Gunn puts out. Guardians of the Galaxy 2's got issues. Guardians of the Galaxy 3's got issues. But I like him as a director. Zack Snyder, I'm not gonna like every movie he comes out. Rebel Moon franchise. But I like him as a director. And that might be my biggest hot take, because these days it's hard to see somebody just pick one director. Nobody can just be a fan of movies anymore. You gotta take a side. And it sucks. It's stupid. I hate it. And that was my biggest hot take. What is your comic book movie hot takes down below? What are all your hot takes down below? I want to know all that and more. Did you guys enjoy this video? I'm going to have another one kind of like this, where I'm going to talk about my biggest comfort movies here in the coming weeks. Stay tuned, because my next video is going to be a Bike Riders review. I really did enjoy that movie. I am excited to talk about it. I will put that out probably tomorrow. Comment down below if you guys would want to see a Boys review so far, and then like a weekly by episode Acolyte. I'm going to put a poll up on my YouTube channel that people will vote on that. But anyways, thank you guys for clicking on this video. Share your biggest hot takes down below, and while you're down there, subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the bell so you never miss another video. And with that said, subscribe to join the Nerd Army. Peace out.